Arduino for Beginners, Episode 26. How to control the speed and direction of a DC motor using an H-bridge. Now for this tutorial, we are going to be using the L298N H-bridge, and this is actually a dual H-bridge, so you can run two motors off of it if you want, and you can also use these to drive stepper motors. But for this tutorial, we are just going to be driving one DC motor, and I'm going to show you how you control the speed and the direction of the motor with this. But you can run two on it if you would like. And a real common use for this is for like making those little robot, like two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive robots. This is what you can use to drive the motors on them. Now for the full specifications, just do an internet search, Google or Bing, whatever you prefer, and just look for the L298N data sheet, and it'll tell you all the specs on this. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to show you how to use it, but you can hook a fairly decent sized small DC motor to it. You're not going to be driving anything huge with them. There is a way to use these to do that by using like Darlingtons and MOSFETs and stuff like that, but once again, we're not going to go into that today. Now the circuit I have set up here, we just got our DC motor, and I have three buttons here. I have this one's to make the motor go forward, this one's to make it go in reverse, and this one is to stop it. And then I have a potentiometer here that we are using to control the speed. Now you can also set this up to control this by using an Android app you can put together, and I actually have a video on how to do that. If I will try to remember to put a link in the description below to that. If I forget, just look on my channel, it'll be easy to find, but I'll try to remember to put that in here. If I forget to put it in the description below, just go to the page's website. I will make a point to make sure I at least put it on there, and that too you can find in the description below. Now for the H-bridge, we've got our inputs here that go from that come from the Arduino board. And our first one, now they normally, when it comes when you buy these, it'll have a jumper on here. If you leave that jumper on this first pin here, and then the very last pin, there's 6 pins altogether, but those will have a jumper. And if you leave those on, then the motor will always run at full power, full speed. Now if you take it off, you can use the front pin. And this one here on this side controls the motor hooked here, and the one on this side controls this. And what you do is you use a PWM pin on your Arduino board, and you use that to control the speed of the motor. Then also we have to have our input voltage. Now I'm running 12 volts in. If you run 12 volts in on this, there is a 5-volt pin on here that you can use to power your Arduino. You have to be running close to 12 volts. I think if you had a 9-volt adapter, those are usually closer to like 10.5 volts. I do think it would still work. You'd have to check that yourself. I guess I haven't, but I would think it would work. But I'm driving this with a 12-volt wall wart, which is actually 13.5 volts. But it has a voltage regulator built into it, so you can get 5 volts out of it. Then we just simply, right here, we hook up our DC motor. And don't worry, if you're not catching all this, I will have a schematic on how to hook all this up as well on the website, so just check that out. And then if you were hooking a motor up on the other side, they have two DC motors. It's the same thing on the other side. And it is, well, before I forget, this first pin, once again, that's the PWM to control the speed, and then you got your two inputs. Depending on which one is high is which direction the motor will spin. So you want one high and one low, and depending which is which will determine the direction of the motor. Try to avoid writing both of them high at the same time. I actually have not done that. I didn't want to take the chances of hurting my H-bridges. I've only got 2 of them, and I do use them quite often. So just make sure in your sketch there's no way that they can both go high at the same time. And then if you're running a second motor, it's just the same thing. This pin here will be your PWM to control the speed, and then these two will be your inputs. and whichever one is high will determine which direction the motor spins. And to figure that out, it's best just to hook it up and try it, and to figure out, you know, which is forward, which is reverse. If you want it to be the other way around, you can either switch the wires, or you can just change it in your code for the Arduino sketch. So all right, with that, why don't we just demonstrate it working here. So the blue button here, that's my forward. I hope you can see that that is turning. And I actually have it running at a low speed, and there it's pretty much off. And there is full speed right there. I can hit the stop, and then I can hit the reverse, or go to forward, reverse, forward, stop. And you can see the motor's jerking a little because we're changing the direction, speed, and making it stop. So it's got some momentum and it's making it move. But like I said, you could also use my Android app that I have, or write your own. It's pretty easy to do. I actually have a whole series of tutorials on writing apps in MIT App Inventor. And a good thing, MIT App Inventor is not going to no longer just be for Android. They are coming out with a version for the Apple iPhones. So I can't wait for that. I've actually in the process of getting a iPhone, so I can start playing around with the apps as well. All right, I'm not going to go over the exact setup of the circuit here. I will have a schematic for that because I don't know, you might not want to use buttons. You might want to be doing something else. But in this tutorial, we're just showing you know how this is all set up and how you control this and that and make it all work. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll go over to the computer and we'll take a look at the Arduino sketch for this. And before I forget, that code too, if you want to copy it to play around, if you're going to put this together, you can find that on this project website as well. Once again, look in the description below, bring you this project web page. I'll have all that on there, parts list, the schematic, the Arduino code, anything else I can think of. So, all right, I'm going to get the computer turned on and get my screen capture software running. So I'll catch you over to the computer in just a second, and we'll check out the Arduino IDE, the sketch. All right, I have the Arduino IDE opened up here and the sketch loaded. So let's just get right into it. First thing we're doing is we're defining the two pins that are controlling the direction of the motor, and I'm using digital pin 11 and 12. And once again, whichever one of these is high is going to determine which direction the motor is spinning. So just try to make sure you never have both of them high at the same time. It is completely okay to have them both low at the same time. By them both being low, that means the motor is not spinning. That's how you stop it. Then we're defining the speed pin. Now this is our PWM pin. This is what we're sending the PWM signal from the Arduino board to the H bridge to tell it how fast we want the motor to spin. Then we're defining here is these are the pins our buttons are on. And I got pin 2, 5, and 9, and that's just with my jumpers and how I hooked it up on the solderless breadboard. That's just how it worked out with the connectors I had to fit. You use whatever pins you want. If you're going to be using the buttons, just make sure you change that. Then we have an int, that's for storing the speed value. That's going to be what we're reading off of the potentiometer. Then we got 3 more integers here, and that's our forward, reverse, and stop, and that's just how we're storing the value of if the button's been pushed or not. All right, then we're just setting our pin modes. Pin 1, 2, of course, is an output. The speed pin, that's an output. These here we're putting our input pull-ups on because we're going to be, of course, they're the buttons. So we're going to have the input pull-up resistors on. Unless you want to actually add your own resistors, but it's kind of a waste of time. Just do the input pull-ups. Works great. All right, now down into the void loop. Here's where we have all the fun. So what we're doing is we're reading and setting the speed equals analog read A0. And that's what we have the potentiometer on. Then what we're doing is we're taking the speed and we're dividing that by 4 because we don't want an analog reading of 2023. We want to convert that to a reading of between 0 and 255, I do believe. Yeah, I do believe that's. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Then what we're doing is we're analog writing that value to the speed pen, and we're writing the speed. So this is just a little formula, to convert the analog read and the analog write. They use two different sets of number. The analog read is 0 to 2023, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure I am. And the analog write has to be a value of between 0 and 255. If I'm wrong, I'll put a caption on the screen here. Let's see. So then next, what we're doing is we're doing a digital read to see if any of the buttons have been pushed. If any of the buttons have been pushed, then we're going down to our if statements here. Well, if the forward button has been pushed, which means it equals low, we are digital writing pin 1 high and digital pin 2 low. That means the motor's going forward. Now, if it's not spinning in the direction you want, just reverse them too. All you need to do, or reverse the wires on the H bridge itself. Then if the reverse button's pushed, once again we're doing, and you can see here, pin 1 is low instead of high, but pin 2 is high instead of low. Then if we push the stop button, it's just writing both of them low, so the motor don't spin no more. All right, well, I hope all this made sense. If you got any questions, you can leave a comment. Sometimes it's a few days between when I get chances to go through and respond to comments, so don't be worried if I don't get to you within 20 minutes of you leaving a comment. It might take a couple of days, but I do try to get back to people when they ask questions. So with that, just again a reminder, all this information can be found on the website. Check it out. If you found this information useful, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. So with that, we'll wrap this episode up. I hope to see you here in the next episode. So I hope you have a great day. And remember, have fun building.